Senior Director of the Professional and Organizational Development Department at Prince George's Community College. She is currently completing her certification as a youre mindfulness trainer. Prior to working at the college, Dr. Davis had a private practice in organizational development, consulting working with healthcare systems, the federal government, educational facilities, and for-profit organizations throughout the United States. So let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Audrey Davis.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's always a pleasure to come to this event every year and to share with you information that I hope will be helpful and will allow you to become successful in your learning endeavors. I wanted to talk to you this afternoon about the power of your mind. And I want to make this interactive. So it's important for me to hear what you have to say with some of the questions that I will be asking at this time. The human mind processes information that it receives from the senses and the body and sends messages back to the body. There are three basic functions of our mind. One is thinking, the other is feeling, and the third is wanting. I'm going to read to you a quote from John Milton. The quote is, "The mind is its own place in itself, can make a hell of heaven or a heaven from hell." Let's spend some time learning together how we can control the mind. But before we go there, I'd like for you to tell me, what did you hear in that quote? I'll repeat it again. The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a hell of heaven or a heaven of hell. So can you tell me, let's see. Okay, so can someone tell me, what do you think that particular quote is saying?
Anybody can say something?
Yes,
Okay, I'm Brenda Brooks, and from what I gather, I'm looking at this way. Your mind is what you are. And if you're going to be strong, you're going to be strong. And you know the difference between heaven and hell.
Okay, all right. So we can create what it will be, whether it will be heaven or if it will be hell.
Yes.
That exactly. Thank you.
Oh, by the way, I'm a senior citizen.
Okay, all right. Thank you. So a little bit more about the mind. Everyone thinks. It's our nature to do so. What happens to you when you're in a new situation, such as a new class, a new environment? The first day on the job, what happens? What goes through your mind? Anyone? Does anyone want to share?
Yeah. Nobody's not saying anything?
So basic, can I answer?
Yes, please.
Okay. So this might be based on anecdotal evidence, I guess, but when I'm in new situations, what usually encircles my thought processes is basically anxiety slash alertness, or like the eagerness to understand the environment before giving any necessary input, I guess.
So you want to be able to understand what's happening
Correct.
when you're in a new situation.
Correct.
What else occurs? Anyone else?
Extreme alertness in relation to you being in a familiar environment, I guess.
So you're very alert.
Yes.
And looking at and trying to figure out what's happening in that new environment. Exactly. So what the mind, thoughts and feelings and desires, and even figuring out the environment that we are in, they can be guided or directed in a manner that supports what you want to accomplish, or the mind can work in a way that responds against what we want to achieve. How do you think that happens? What happens when the mind is working against us?
Like example, even if you want to do something positive, your mind distracts you from doing it. Like it tells you like you can't do this, but knowing well you can do it.
Yes, exactly. That is so important. Your mind can really stop you from doing what it is you're trying to learn or trying to accomplish. It can respond in a manner that works against what we want to achieve. So how many of you, and if you'll raise your hand, how many of you have heard about mindfulness?
Raise your hand where?
Okay, so two of you had, and this is what I'm going to talk about. Mindfulness is the basic ability that we as humans have to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing, and not overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. It's a psychological process of bringing your attention to the internal and external experiences that you can develop through the practice of meditation and other types of training. So this is a way of controlling, actually understanding and developing our minds in a way that helps us to accomplish what we're attempting to learn, to do. When we're mindful, we reduce stress, we enhance our performance, we gain insight and awareness through observing our own mind, and we really increase the attention to our well-being. Mindfulness meditation gives us a time in our lives when we can suspend judgment and unleash our natural curiosity about the working of the mind, approaching our experience with warmth and kindness to ourselves and others. How many of you have been in a learning experience that was really difficult, and all you found yourself saying, didn't say it out loud, it was like, I'm never going to be able to learn this. This is just too hard. Why isn't there an easier way to do this? It's sort of our mind talking to us. Have you ever experienced a situation in which we become our own worst critic? Show of hands. Ah, yes. Brenda, I got to someone else. Yes. I remember when I walked into my first psychology class, and one of the things that had to be done was to make sure that we were ready to join a team. And now I'm going to really date myself. This was back in the 1960s. And part of the experience was we had to work with a rat. As soon as I saw the rat, I was ready to drop the class. But it was the training that had to be done. And I guess the look on my face, the instructor came over and said, Audrey, you could be the secretary if you don't want to handle the rat. And I said, fine, I'll take the notes. I have no problem with that. But in my head, I was thinking, this is the wrong place for me. I'll never be able to do this. All of the doubt that I had, because it was something that I had never experienced before and had no desire to learn how to handle this creature that in my world was only in places where you weren't able to really want them around you. So mindfulness meditation can really help us in doing what we want to do in the way that we want to do it and to be successful at doing it. So what I'd like for you to do is to join me in a brief exercise. I'm going to take you through an experience of mindfulness. I'm going to ask you to make sure that you're seated and comfortable, resting your hands comfortably on your thighs. I'd like for you to close your eyes and follow your breath. Breathe in and breathe out. Take a deep breath in and another breath out. Very, very slowly. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. If your mind is starting to wander, simply come back to the breath. Breathe in very slowly and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and slowly breathe out. Slowly breathe in and breathe out. When your mind wanders, come back to your breath and begin breathing in and breathing out. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. If your mind wanders, come back to the breathing and simply say, breathe in, counting 1, and breathe out, counting 2. Breathe in and breathe out. All right, so I'd like for us to come back together again. And I'd like for you to raise your hand and tell me what you felt. What was that like for you? And what was happening for you? So Kevin just put something in the chat.
Yes, ma'am.
Technique, I use it sometimes. Oh, great. That's great to see that you've used this as a way of sort of grounding yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Tiara.
Yes.
So have you used this before?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and what does it do for you?
So I'm actually a dance major. And I use this before starting to stretch or after starting to stretch to just calm the mind, or after I do like something really rigorous.
Exactly. It's really calming, and it allows you to begin to focus on what you are about to do or what you want to accomplish. Marvell?
So basically, I have utilized this in quite different circumstances. One of which was, so I used to take a speech communication class, and I had quite the anxiety because that was my first time in that area. So right before speeches, even though we're approximately a maximum of 20 students overall, my anxiety was extremely high, and I basically had panic attacks. But once I attempted to breathe in and breathe out a couple of times, I experienced, I experienced some sort of calmness in relation to prior to me doing that. So also I kind of have like close ones around me, I guess, who might be struggling with anxiety or panic attacks for various reasons. And when I advised them to do the same, to use the same technique, it apparently worked. So
Yeah, it's a very powerful and it's evidence-based. I mean, there's research that has been done on this type of mindfulness practice that allows you to relax so that you can totally focus on what it is you are trying to accomplish. Brenda.
Correct. And one more observation, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Basically, I did this random, it wasn't computerized, I guess, but I monitored my heart rate before, inhaling and exhaling. And right after, it seemed more stabilized, I guess.
Yes, it will. I have done this rushing to a doctor's appointment, and I was late. And when I got to the doctor's office and they took my blood pressure, they were a bit alarmed because it was really high. And so I said, well, I was rushing from the parking lot and I knew I was going to be late. And she said, okay, we'll take it later. And as I was sitting there, I just calmly started, and this is called belly breathing. If you want, put your hands on your stomach as you're doing this and breathe, taking the air in and down to your stomach so that your stomach is extending. And as it's going, as you're breathing out, your stomach is now growing flatter. And you can feel this. And so you have a sense of breathing deeply. And I was sitting there, I did this for a few minutes. And when they took my blood pressure about 10 minutes later, it was normal. So being able to see the control that we have over bringing our body and bringing our mind to a place where we can be more receptive is so powerful. Brenda, you had your hand up.
Only thing I want to say is that it helps a great deal. I took this class before, and for a lot of the older adults like myself, we rushing. And just like you said, when you go to the doctor, your pressure might be up, and we just sit there about 10 minutes, and you'd be surprised how much your pressure goes down. And I'm famous for rushing, so this helps me a lot, a great deal every day.
Yep. Okay.
Weight-wise too.
Absolutely. Let's see, there was one other person. I thought I saw another hand up. Is there anyone else who wanted to comment?
I would actually want to share something.
Oh, yes. Is it Kevin?
It's Kevin.
Kevin, okay.
Yeah. So basically I do something similar to this exercise that we did every morning. So it's a mix of yoga and a bit of like a combat kind of a thing. It's from my culture. And basically it allows for you to completely control your breathing and help your mind stay in tune. So every time I do this, because I do high intensity workouts in the morning, it helps me like control my breathing and helps me stay focused and not get sidetracked. So doing this reminded me of the thing that I do.
Yes, absolutely. There was another comment in the chat. Alona said that she feels more relaxed. As she was breathing, she imagined that she was in her own world, and I felt like I was meditating. You know, the power of just giving yourself an opportunity to do this 10 minutes a day. For me, I find the best time is in the morning, depending upon what is the best time for you. Because for some people, even right before you have lunch, just sitting quietly. And for me, I like to close my eyes because it gives me an opportunity not to allow extraneous things to start my mind wandering. Our mind is going to wander. That's the purpose of our mind, the thinking and the processing that is done by the brain. It comes through the mind. But if we learn how to focus, it allows us to really focus on what it is we want to accomplish, as opposed to all of those thoughts that go through the thinking mind. And that's what it's supposed to do. The 10 minutes a day can begin to give you an opportunity to train your mind so that you're focusing upon that which is important to you. It is really important to do this when we are in situations that tend to be stressful for us, that tend to bring up this, I don't think I can do this. This is too hard. This is so difficult. I have found that when I can slow down, focus on the outcome that I'm trying to achieve, I can do so much more. And by practicing 10 minutes of just breathing, there's a number of different exercises that you can do depending upon what it is you're looking to accomplish. It can really be powerful when we're trying to accomplish something that we find difficult or we think that we are going to fail. Following are some of the persons who practice mindfulness daily. I was really surprised. I use an app that's called Calm, and they have all kinds of exercises and information to help you support your mindfulness practice. I was really surprised, I guess about a month or two ago, there was a meditation that was being led by LeBron James. And he talked about how long he had been meditating and how important it was for him in his feet in basketball. It's Tara Strong as well, and she's one of Kevin is sharing that Tara Strong is also a practicer of mindfulness. It really is amazing to see how 10 minutes a day can provide us with an opportunity of conquering some of the things that we said, I'll never be able to do this. I was also surprised as I was preparing for this presentation to you to learn that Kobe Bryant was he practiced mindfulness daily. And when I think of the basketball players and a lot of the different athletes, focusing and making sure that they're able to get into that whole sense of being able to overcome any of the concerns that they may have. So one of the things that I wanted to share is that I'll be offering classes for our students beginning in April. You can look for the information on the bulletin boards throughout the campus, and I'll be sending them to the chairs of the department. I'm trying to make sure that the class is offered before your finals so that as you're preparing for them, you'll be able to use some of the techniques that come from the course that I'll be offering. The certification that was mentioned earlier is for a program that has been used at a number of the colleges across the country. When I was looking to enhance my own practice, I ran across Youre Mindfulness is what it's called, K-O-R-U, and it's taught to people who work in colleges directly with the students to help them prepare for areas of stress. As a student, you have all kinds of things that you have to prepare for. And so giving you sort of a tool for your toolbox to prepare for studying when you're also working and you have other obligations. And if only you could keep your mind still so that you can focus on what it is you're preparing for, it would be so helpful. And that is one of the reasons why I wanted to offer this course. The classes are small. There's a maximum of 12 persons in each class, so that there's an opportunity for you to really get answers to your questions and really guidance in going through the course. I will teach some of them face-to-face and some will be taught online so that it's convenient. And if I get more requests for online courses, I'll certainly be able to do that. The course is 75 minutes in length, and there will be no cost to you for taking the course. So you can look for the information when we come back from spring break. So let me ask any questions that you may have. You can either put it in the chat or raise your hand. No questions? Okay, Marbell?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
I didn't quite hear you correctly. I know you mentioned a maximum or a minimum of students per course. If you might reiterate that, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I said that the classes are small, so the maximum for the class will be 12 to 15. The minimum would be at least 5.
Okay. And is there a way for us to be alerted regarding when the courses are available, besides like the bulletin, I guess?
Oh yeah, I'm going
Preferably,
to.
okay.
I'll put a schedule up, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to continue to offer the classes throughout the summer as well as into the fall. I've seen so much research that talks about how beneficial it is, particularly for college students, because when you think of all of the things that you're trying to accomplish, finding a way of balancing them is imperative. And that's part of what this course will provide you with, is certain skills and ways in which you can begin to prioritize and to achieve the things that you want to achieve.
Okay, thank you. One more question, if you don't mind. So let's say perhaps the technique you mentioned earlier doesn't work for certain people. What do they do? The grounding technique that enforces mindfulness.
What we would do is explore what exactly is not working. So the idea is to give you the tools to ask the questions that help you to identify what it is that you will have to, what you can do so that you become skillful at achieving the outcomes that you desire. I want to answer a question. Did that make sense, Marbell? I don't want to go on until I'm...
Okay, yes, it made complete sense. Thank you.
There was a question in the chat that asked the difference between mindfulness and meditation. Meditation is a process that leads to mindfulness. So meditation, as it's done and as people have utilized it, allows one to become more focused on the activity that they're experiencing in the moment. So meditation is one of the ways that you can become mindful. Brenda?
Yes, I have one question, and I think I might be getting ahead of you. Does food affect the way you think or the way you feel? Because the reason I said that, because we have so many chemicals in our food, and sometimes we may think different if we eat junk food versus healthy food. So does that affect your mind in a way?
Well, foods do have an impact on how it that food will impact the body in different ways. But mindfulness is really about what is it that you can do to control one's ability to focus on what you want to accomplish.
Okay.
So it's really, the mind, the purpose of the mind is to think. So we think, but there's also part of the mind that observes. So it's, as the mind is thinking, you don't want to be taken away from what you're attempting to do by a thought that goes by. For instance, I can be sitting at my desk reading a report, and I think about, I really need to stop at the store on my way home this evening. And so I stop reading the report and write a note of what I wanted from the store. And then, do I have enough money? Let me go look at my purse. And all of a sudden, 15 minutes has gone from what I wanted to accomplish, which was reading the report, into all of these other things that were going on. So the goal of mindfulness is, when that thought came by about stopping at the store, to come back to what I was doing, which was reading the report. And it's really training our mind so that we can accomplish what is before us, and what we say is important. Any other questions? Great questions.
One more question, if you don't mind. I don't know if you heard of this phenomenon called precognitive dreams. Basically, something similar to deja vu, where you conceive of something unconsciously and then you wake up and it happens exactly as you saw it. Is there any explanation behind that?
Well, I'm not familiar. I'm sure there are explanations, but it's not something that I'm familiar with, and I feel comfortable attempting to answer, because I'm not versed in that area of how the mind works.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
I wanted to comment on Patricia's information in the chat, where she said, when your mind constantly tells you you cannot do something, how do you handle that? First and foremost, we have to recognize that we are probably our own worst critic, and look at it as, that's the thinking mind. And that's what's going through right now because of whatever I may have experienced. But I want to focus on what I can do, which is paying attention to what it is that I want to accomplish. It's learning how to remove the judging that we do to ourselves. Where we tell ourselves, I can't do this. This is too hard. And simply say, I'm going to take care of myself and focus on doing this, or focus on learning how to do this. So it's really, in our mind, making sure that we take care of ourselves, making sure that we give ourselves the opportunity to achieve what we desire. Any other questions? And what I would ask you to do as you think about this, and even this idea that we can't do something, remember how easy or how relaxed you became by simply focusing on the breathing. The thoughts were going through, but when you come back, and sometimes when I was first learning how to meditate, because it was very difficult, all these thoughts were going back and forth in my mind, I would go inhale 1, and then slowly exhale and 2, to keep myself focused on the breath. I can now simply breathe in and breathe out. But initially, I had to have that focus of saying 1 and breathing in, and then 2 and breathing out, because the thoughts were going through my mind so quickly that it was hard to remain focused. Any other comments or questions?
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
First off, thank you so much for this space. Appreciate it greatly. I did want to know, in your personal experience, have you had any, how do I say this? Have you ever experienced something to the phenomena that was discussed earlier, being able to live out your dreams as if they, were real, you dream it and then it happened, or like clairvoyant experiences, being able to tell things before they happen as a result of meditating frequently?
Well, I will tell you, when I started working toward my PhD, and there was a point at which I really felt I just didn't think that I was going to be able to finish it. And I was at the point where I was really getting frustrated, and I was just starting to read about meditation. And one of the things that I found was that once I really started meditating, and it was just 10 minutes a day, I also started spending time, little increments of time during the day, where I would just sit and breathe in and breathe out and focus on what it is I wanted to accomplish and how I saw my future once I had gotten my terminal degree.
Yeah.
And I really was able to spend quality time working on the writing that had to be done. It took me longer than I wanted, but I had to find the determination as well as the commitment to staying focused so I could do the writing. I had done all of the coursework. It was the research and the writing that I was having the most difficulty with. And really developing my mindfulness practice is what helped me to get to the graduation and to obtain my degree.
That's
so
amazing.
It can be done.
Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Well, I hope to see some of you in the classes. I intend to to offer them throughout the years and throughout the terms and at different times. So I am looking forward to hopefully seeing some of you in those classes. And thank you so much for inviting me to present at STEM Week once again. I look forward to being there next year. Oh, Brenda, you had your hand raised? I'm sorry.
I had a quick question.
Sure.
Oh, I was just wondering if you could forward the survey link because that I really appreciated your presentation. It's more so a comment, but I just wanted to say I really appreciated your presentation, and I was wondering if you could forward the survey link.
Oh, sure. I'll definitely send it to Dr. Nikia. Let's see. I'll make sure that you get a copy of it.
But yeah, you could just drop the link in the chat if you can, please. Thank you.
Okay, I will.
Okay, Dr. Davis.
Yes.
I would like to say I appreciate it. I learn a lot. Every day I learn something new. Have you written a book or are you planning on writing a book on this subject?
Well, I don't plan on writing just about this subject, but I do plan to write a book. Yes.
I would appreciate
and
much.
it will be about the experiences that took me to completing my terminal degree. And I'll say, I finished my terminal degree at the age of 62.
What?
So it wasn't something that I started when I was younger. And I am teaching now, and I'm very proud to say I am 73.
Oh my gosh, you're beautiful.
Well, you know, it's one of those things when you love what you do it well. And I love the work that I do.
You make older adults feel so much better. One time they said we can't, but a lot of older adults will love you because you give them what they need to hear. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome.